Hello. I haven't been able to make videos in a while because no batteries. Batteries died. Oh, and I got a new shirt. It's Voltaire. And before anyone asks, that's Sisters of Mercy playing. So there's no. Anyway, I want some disclaimers about the topic's video title. I'm not saying that philosophy can't be, put into fiction or taught through fiction or anything like that. Certain that it can be used as like an analogy, a very long analogy. And what I'm really getting at is that fiction kind of sucks when it comes to getting philosophy into our head, one person's head to another person's head, describing philosophy, doing philosophy. All the main problems with putting fiction and philosophy together is that there's fiction has a type of style to it. And this particular type of style is kind of vague, unclear, and ambiguous. Also, you just can't put enough information into fiction, I think. You'd have to have like a 1,000-page fiction book, and even then, most of philosophy, you would really have a hard time putting into fiction. On top of the problem of people looking at fiction that's called philosophic and thinking that's all philosophy is, when it's not. It's like just the tip of the iceberg. And I really want to get to an example. In fact, this example I'm about to bring up is so bad that even Christopher Hitchens was duped, was confused, got it wrong. I was reading God is Not Great, and he mentioned Nietzsche, and he didn't understand the phrase at all. I'm talking about Nietzsche's phrase, God is dead, which can be found in here, where Nietzsche says, God is dead and we have killed him. What Hitchens thinks and what other people falsely think is that they think Nietzsche's saying is, God existed, he was real, but now he's dead. Like, that's not what he's saying. What he's literally saying is the concept of God is dead. But then that's the problem with fictional writing. If you're trying to make a slogan, if you're trying to be all rhetorical and poetic sounding in your fiction, saying the concept of God is dead, it really isn't as interesting. It doesn't work in fictional writing as much as it just said God is dead. So that's the problem. On top of the fact that even in Nietzsche's non-fiction, he's unclear and ambiguous. So in his fiction, he's going to be even more ambiguous and unclear to that extent. What I think he meant is that people don't believe in the concept of God anymore, or they don't act as if they believe in God, the concept of God anymore. And they act that way, so they don't follow the Christian rules anymore. Also, another thing that people forget is that Martin Luther, the founder of the Lutheran Protestant Church, and the guy who started the whole Protestant Reformation, was the first who said God was dead. If you mention the way Nietzsche used it later, he's not saying that God existed, he was real, and now he's dead. He's saying that people don't believe in him anymore, and hence the concept of God has died in the West, or is dying, or is weaker. Of course, it's not totally dead, because it's pretty. I live in the Bible Belt, Kansas, pretty big here. I mean, I live in the state of the Phelps family. The Phelps family literally lives in my state. They only live. The Phelps family only lives like 2 hours north. Wait, north, because that's south. Yeah, there's 2-3 hours that way. In my Phelps territory. But yeah, and that's another thing. There's a movie. This is supposed to be all philosophic. This movie here, The Watchmen. But there is some kind of philosophy questions are brought up, like the question of evil, where Dr. Manhattan sits by this guy, this blue guy here sits by while smoker guy here, the comedian, just shoots this pregnant woman in the head. And the blue guy, God, Manhattan guy, could stop him. It's the whole question of evil of God is omnipotent and omniscient, omnibenevolent. Why is there evil in the world? Because if he was all three of those things, he could just like snap his finger and it's all gone. Because he's omniscient, so he knows where all the evil is in the world. He's omnipotent, so he can just do that. He's omnibenevolent, so he should have a motive to get rid of all evil. But anyway, you just get a glimpse of a philosophic problem. You don't really get a very deep at all into it. And that's the problem with philosophy, with fiction. That you just get a touch of it. I admit there are times when fiction does seem to do well when it comes to, you know, philosophy and stuff. Like I'm thinking existentialist stuff like The Stranger and whatnot, authenticity and all that. But still, it only gets to a very small amount of philosophy. And it still is unclear, and that's not a problem with fiction, is it's so up to interpretation. That's why that's why nonfiction is the best medium for philosophy, because it's a lot clearer. You do not want any interpretation. Because the thing is in philosophy, more than like any other field of study, is that each detail is not always easy to see. And the detail is so important in philosophy, is that a little ambiguity changes everything. Like, I was reading this book, and they're talking about Nozick, the first part of it was Nozick versus Rawls versus Sandel, and they're talking about the good society and liberal society, and one of the guys is like, we can't do anything yet until we figure out what constitutes the self, and it was a really complicated issue where one detail off would change everything in political philosophy. And the thing is, it seems difficult to put that into fiction without there being any confusion or interpretation. So that's my 2 cents. Philosophy and fiction may be entertaining, but do not read or look at anything that's considered philosophy and fiction and think you're learning philosophy or that you're getting a good hint of what philosophy is all about. If you want to understand philosophy, you got to go deep and you got to read the non-fiction. That's it.